quilting and sewing friends, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite quilting and sewing YouTuber, and I'm here with another fun project. Today we're working on some pincushions because I'm getting ready for the holidays and I'm looking for fun, easy, and simple gifts to give my friends and family, quite a few of whom sew. Now normally I do a ton of baking around the holidays. I spend 2 solid weekends baking cookies to give to everyone. But this year with pandemic, I don't know how many people are going to be really excited about home baked cookies. So I thought I would up my game and add a little sewing and make some really unique gifts. Also, if you haven't seen, my pocket advent and then the mini pocket advent are out, and so those make great gifts as well. But today we're working on just the easiest simple gift to have handy. They're so fun, so adorable, so just delectable, and in 2 different sizes. And there are so many ways that you can customize these pincushions. So it's a free pattern on my website. Go ahead and go down to the description box, click the link below, and that will get you to where you can download the free pattern. I'm going to take you through how to sew this pincushion, but I want to share with you a couple fun things about the pincushion. First is you can use whatever fabric you like. So this is some fun daisies. These are some adorable deer. All of these are art gallery fabrics. You can use flowers. There's no way to go wrong with picking a fabric for these pincushions. You'll also need fusible fleece, and you'll need a button as well as crushed walnut shells. And crushed walnut shells are what we use for the inside of a pincushion. They give a good firmness and a good weight to your pincushion. They're super easy to find and honestly super inexpensive. If you go down to the link below, for super inexpensive, I found 15 pounds of crushed walnut shells. And I don't know if the price is the same now, but for me, it was about 50 cents, actually a little less than 50 cents per pincushion to be able to stuff these pincushions with crushed walnut shells. One 15-pound box of crushed walnut shells gets me between 40 and 45 pincushions. So that's a lot. Okay. So also the buttons. Now you likely have a bunch of buttons in your stash. This cute tree comes from just my stash of buttons, but there's also some really fun sewing themed buttons like this little sewing machine or this little thimble, and those came in a set of buttons that I've got ahead and linked down below. Also, if you look around the web, you'll find all kinds of like decorative buttons, other decorative sewing style theme buttons, and you can just even use a regular circular plain button and still get a super, super cute look. So there's no wrong way to make this pincushion, and I'm going to show you how simple it is. So you ready? Let's get started. We have our fabric pieces that we've cut out as well as our fusible fleece pieces. And we're just going to go ahead and fuse those together. Fusible fleece has a bumpy side that has the adhesive, and then it has a smooth side that's non-adhesive. So what we want to do is place those bumpy side up and then put our fabric on top. Now if you want to make sure that you don't get any gunk on your iron because you didn't cut these exactly perfect, which, I mean, come on, which one of us is exactly perfect? Then you can put some kind of press cloth, a tea towel on top. I'm pretty confident, and also I've had plenty of experience cleaning my iron. So I'm going to go ahead and just fuse these on. Now I grabbed this cute cat fabric. You can use whatever fabric you like, obviously, since there's so many ways that you can make this pincushion. Now you can do this next step one at a time. I like to stack them on top of each other because I'm making a ton of these pincushions and I want it to go fairly quickly. If you want to make this more kind of square shaped pincushion, you're going to do a 1-inch cut here. If you want this more kind of pillow shaped pincushion, you're going to do a 3/4 inch cut here. So it's up to you depending on which shape pincushion you want. They're both super cute. I like this cushion shaped more for this cat fabric. So I'm going to find the 3/4 inch mark here on my ruler. And to help me see that, I'm grabbing my spot on dot, which is this adhesive lens right here. It will stick right onto that 3/4 inch mark to help me line up that corner. And with my rotary cutter, I'm going to very carefully cut just to that edge, but no further. Same on the other side. If you cut just a touch over, you're fine. You just don't want to go too far because you're going to be cutting into your seam. There we go. I'm going to repeat that 3/4 inch cut on all the sides. And if you've not seen the spot on dot before, I have a whole blog post where I talk about it, a video where I talk about it, and links to where you can get your spot on dot. And I'll have that all down in the description box below. So make sure that you go check out that description box. Now, if this is for a kid making this, I would suggest you use a fabric marking pen and mark your 3/4 inch line and then cut it with scissors rather than a rotary cutter. I know that I have a couple viewers on here who get a little concerned with how sharp a rotary cutter is and that it can be a little dangerous with your fingers so close by. So absolutely, you can just use fabric marking pen, mark these corners, and cut them with scissors instead. Okay, so I have these cut out, and my next step is going to be to sew. So I'm going to fold so these two sides are touching each other, and I'm going to sew. This is called boxing the corners, where I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. Now, this part right here where the fold is, I want to give it some extra security, locking my stitches by going back and forth. Also, I want to be able to chain piece these because if I'm making a whole bunch of them, I want to be able to sew one after the other, after the other, after the other. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, stitch the edge, go back, and then go forward, and that way I can chain my next one on. So this is what that looks like. Bring it to the sewing machine, press our foot down, stitch up to and maybe even one stitch past the edge, go backwards, and then go forward off the edge. And then I'm going to grab my next one, fold it, put it under my presser foot, stitch, go backwards, forwards, and if you have a whole bunch of these, you can grab your next one, your next one, your next one. I'm only doing the top and bottom of this one pincushion. So I just clip this right off the back. I'm folding one more side, stitch, go back, grab the one off the back, and I'm going to keep doing this until I've done 8 times, so all 4 corners on both pieces. If you're doing more pincushions, you just want to keep doing it until all 4 corners on all the tops and bottoms of your pincushions are done. So here I've stitched all 4 corners on both sides, and it's time to put them together. Now, I picked this cat fabric and it's a directional fabric. And so how do I want the cats to look? So for example, this one's a directional fabric because it's got this stripe with this bow, and I actually was able to line up the stripe all the way around. If I would have turned this top, so in this case, I want maybe my cats to go all the way around. If I turn it one way, then I'll have cats on one side going this way and then cats on the bottom going the other way, and I think that looks a little weird. I did the same thing here with these little glasses where they're all facing this way, and you turn it over and they're still facing the correct way. So to do that, I want my cat bottoms to be on my cat ears and my cat ears to be on my cat bottoms. So I'm turning one side right side out, and these cat cheeks are going to be touching these cat ears, and there we go. So it's heads to tails and tails to heads when you do this. Now I'm going to I've got a lot of bulk in this seam right here. I'm going to move one side in one direction, one side in the other direction. It does not matter which one is going right and which one's going left, as long as they're both going different directions. And then I'm just putting a pin right in that seam between the seam allowances, and that's going to help give me nice looking lines on the sides of my pincushion. So you can see how this line kind of goes straight across. That one's really pretty, all lined up, and it just looks so nice when things line up well. And this is the magic of how you do that. See, one seam on one side, one seam on the other side, kind of line up that middle and give yourself a pin. And last one. Okay, so now I want to stitch these two sides together, but I need to give myself a hole for turning it right side out. So I'm going to start stitching about a 1/2 inch or so on one side, go all the way around, and then go about a 1/2 inch or so in on the other side. If you're doing this taller pincushion, you're going to want to go just barely past your seam allowance, because otherwise your hole is going to be too small. It's going to be tough to turn. You're going to end up clipping your hole to make it a little bigger. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and careful, because these pins do get in the way when sewing. Alrighty, press her foot down. And you can kind of see right here, this big pin kind of sticking up can get in the way. So just go slow, move everything to where you need it to, do a couple stitches, move again if it helps, whatever helps, just go slow. Or not, you'll find a rhythm. So I've stitched all the way around 3 sides. On my 4th side, I've given myself a hole for turning, and there isn't a lot of space for turning this. So what I've discovered is the best is just kind of open it up and take the very back end and push it to the front, push it through. And that has been the easiest way for me to turn these right side out, because I've made a bunch of these. I think they make such fun and fabulous gifts. So you can see I've got my cat ears and tails, and it is the right direction in all the ways. Now we're ready to fill our pincushion. I have these bags that I put together that each have about 2 cups of filling in them, which is enough for about 2 pincushions. And spoiler, if you're like me and you make huge plans to give the best gifts to everyone, like pincushions like these, and you run out of time close to Christmas and you're exhausted because you just haven't gotten enough sleep, but you want to give all your friends this perfect gift, here's what you do. You put your filling in a bag, and it only takes 1 cup per pincushion, so you can put 1 cup per bag and you'll be fine. You put 1 cup of filling in a bag, just a regular sandwich size zip bag is fine. You put a cup in, you add your fabric if you want. You can already have it cut to size. You add fusible fleece, you can already have that cut to size, and you add a button. And all they need to do is add thread in a sewing machine. You can print out, and I totally give you permission to do this, print out the pattern off my site and include it. So you have the filling, cute pieces of fabric and fusible fleece, and a couple buttons to choose from. If you want to add some embroidery floss or pearl cotton rolled up on a card or a little piece of paper. That I'm sure would be appreciated. And you're just giving them the whole kit to be able to make it themselves. And that way you haven't spent all the time of having to sew them all together, but they still get a really fun pincushion, and a bonus, you've given them a project. So some people might even appreciate that even more than if you gave them a finished pincushion. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure out a cup. That's a little shy of a cup. You can see if I need a little more, I'll add a little more. I'm gonna use my funnel here because that's gonna help me. You can make a funnel out of a piece of paper, like just make a paper cone and tape it, and you can use that as a funnel, and that'll help. I just grabbed my kitchen funnel. My cat must know that I'm making a cat pincushion because she's here meowing at me. So you want to feel this pretty full, and it kind of depends on how much you want your button to really sink in to your finished pincushion. I want mine to sit a little more on top. I don't want it to sink in too much, but it's up to you how full you fill this pincushion. Once you make one or two, you'll kind of get a feel for it. Now, if you are filling these on the couch and you're not ready to stitch them closed yet, and I'm just getting rid of these extra threads so that they're out of the way. What you can do to secure them until you're ready to stitch them closed is just add a pin right here to help you stitch them closed. Now you can absolutely use an overhand stitch to stitch it closed. That's totally a valid option, and if that's what you want to do, go for it. I like to do what's called an invisible stitch or a ladder stitch when I stitch these closed. And let me see if I can find the side. I can see it right here. This is actually the side that I stitched closed with my ladder stitch. It's totally invisible. And on this one, it's this side, and it's just a little less straight, and the stitches are just a little less perfect than on the machine stitch side. But for someone who isn't looking for that side, they're never gonna know which side it was that stitching was done on. To do your ladder stitch or invisible stitch, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna grab a single length of thread, and I'm gonna move this pin out of the way. Inside the seam allowance here, so we're gonna come from the outside and bring our needle, excuse me, up into the seam allowance. And we're gonna wait until that, pull until that thread tail is tucked away in there, because we're hiding our thread tail. Okay. So now I'm gonna do 3 stitches in place. 3 stitches in place is better than a knot. And that's just going to secure this thread end. If you are a big fan of knots, on your 3rd stitch, go through your loop, and now you've added a knot as well. Then I'm going to, and I went really close to where my machine stitching ended. I'm going to go to where this machine stitching ended, a little past, and I'm gonna start what's called my ladder stitch or my invisible stitch. I find the best way to do this is to pinch the 2 layers together like this, and I'm starting on the side closest to me. I'm gonna go straight across and come up just about a machine sewing stitch away from the other side. Now I'm pulling my thread, and I can see exactly where going across is. Same thing on the other side. I'm gonna grab just a couple threads and go across. Same on the other side and across. And I'm going to do this all the way down the whole length. So we'll go ahead and speed this up for you. Once you've gotten to the other side, just go ahead and pull your thread nice and tight. Not too tight because you don't want to create a ruffle. And now we're going to stitch to secure at this end. And this is the part that is going to be visible. It's just going to be 3 tiny stitches in place. And I go ahead and just go through both the top and the bottom because I might as well, as long as I'm doing like a nice secure stitch, really anchor that top and bottom together while I'm at it. So I'm going to do 3 stitches in place, and I've lost count, so I might as well just do an extra one, which might be the 3rd, might be the 4th. And on this last one, I can go through the loop. And now I'm going to go ahead and bury my thread by bringing it out somewhere over here, and I can clip this. Now, if you have a little piece like this that is kind of poking itself still in, you can just grab a pin and kind of pull out any of your little corners. Just kind of give them a little help out, and then push some of the crushed walnut shells into those corners. No big deal. There we go. So now all that is left is to add our button to our pincushion. And this is the fun part. Grab your button stash. And if you don't have a button stash, collect yourself a button stash because button stashes are fabulous. And you get to start auditioning buttons for your pincushion. Do you want a big flower? Do you want, ooh, how fun is this? I kind of like that. That's a very cat lady button to me. I might like that one, so I'm going to keep her. Like a tree is no good. I mean, I could put a bell on there, but it's kind of weird. This isn't even a button. I have no idea why it's in my button stash. I'm sure everyone has those. Ooh, I like the way this looks though. That's really cool because it's the same kind of color and it's just an interesting shape. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of push a little dent in there to see how that's going to look. Oh, it's torn. Do I want to go super cat lady? Do I want to go more modern? Oh, that's hard. In this case, I might go ahead and grab some more of this fabric and make another one. That one's kind of... Ooh, that might be a good middle. It pulls those same colors, but it has a little bit more of that cat lady vibe. So I think I'm going to go with this one, and I'm just going to stop now before I overanalyze. To secure the button, you want some pearl cotton or embroidery floss. Pearl cotton is basically like really thick thread, I guess is the best way to describe it. And then you're going to want a tapestry needle. A tapestry needle is a bit of a thicker needle with a bigger eye, which you're going to need a bigger eye for your bigger thread. So we're going to go ahead and thread that on there and just do a nice, from the tips of your fingers till your nose length of pearl cotton. And we're going to, if you're short, make it a little longer because we're going to double up on this. So we're going to do a double because we want this to be nice and strong. Now what I forgot to do in this video and is in the instructions is I forgot to add a dot in the center on both sides. So hopefully you were reading the pattern and you can just go right into the dot in the center. If not, we're going to go ahead and eyeball it. And then I'm going to feel with my fingers with the tapestry needle because it's not too sharp. I'm not going to poke myself. I'm going to come up the top. Now I randomly decided this was the top and this was the bottom. No particular reason, but obviously the top or the bottom could be either side. I'm then going to go through my button. Now if you have a button with 2 holes like this, you're going to go up through one side and down through the other. If you have a button with 4 holes like this, you're going to decide, do I want my 2 strips to be parallel strips or do I want an X? And you're going to do one side. So either do one side here or do one angle here, depending on what you're going to do. So start your button like this, and then you want to give yourself a little room to one side. You're not going back through the same hole. And you're going to come up close to where you started here on the back. but give yourself a little bit of fabric between where you came up and where you came down, because we're gonna count on that fabric to tighten everything up. Okay, so I'm giving my button a little slack. I'm not tightening it all the way up, and I'm gonna go in again a little bit away from where I was before. So I'm never going up or down through this exact same hole. I'm going, somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 inch away each time. Then I'm going to come back up. I'm going through my button again. And then I'm going to go back down and come back up the other side somewhere. Now, if you are using the pattern where we cut out 1 inch and made more of a square, you're really going to want to push with your fingers to kind of make like a donut to be able to find that tapestry needle, or you'll just need a longer tapestry needle. Okay, so now I have both sides, and I can pull both ends of this string to tighten that button up. Now I want to push that button in really well because I like that look, and I'm going to pull my pearl cotton one side and the other side to really secure that. And I like the way it gives that like nice tight cushion look. Once I have it nice and snug and tight, I'm going to go ahead and give it a double knot. And if you want to do surgeon's knot, that means looping it through twice on the second one. Go ahead and do that and give yourself a nice tight knot. Now I'm going to go really close to even in the hole of where it came out. And this way I'm going to bury my threads by bringing that needle up. And I'm pulling this really tight and cutting it, and it gets sucked right back in. And then with my finger I can just kind of scratch, and that hole becomes totally invisible. I'm going to do the same with the other side. I'm just going to take my tapestry needle off. I have 2 thread tails here, no big deal. Thread both thread tails through. And now again, right in this hole, come up the other side. I'm trying to grab on that little edge of needle. There we go. And now when I do this, I want to pull and pull until that snapped, and that means that I've gotten the knot inside. So the knot is now inside my pincushion, which helps keep it even more secure. I'm going to clip that, and I've got a good sized hole here because of all that pulling, but if your hole doesn't go away really easily with rubbing, add a little spritz of water and then rub again, and you should get your hole to disappear beautifully. And just like that, we have ourselves a finished pincushion ready for gifting. This is ready for any perfect cat lady. Oh my goodness, that was so simple, right? And with chain piecing, you can just sew and sew and sew and sew and just whip together a whole bunch of these. I whipped up all of the pincushions that I showed you at the beginning of this video all in one evening. It was that simple. So make sure that before you go, you give this video a thumbs up to let other people know that you enjoyed it and that they'll enjoy it too. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. Comments are my favorite, and I look forward to getting comments from all of my viewers. And make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I have so many fun quilting and crafting videos, and I don't want you to miss out on a single one. So go ahead and hit subscribe and then that bell, and then you'll get notified every time I have a new video. Bye, sewing friends. I'll see you back right here real soon.